got CJ Plain, and once again, this is the Noise Report. You know what we do here? We laugh, we have fun, we interview cool and interesting people, or pretty much anyone I can con into coming on this shit show that I call a podcast. Um, so tonight's victims, loosely,
Loosely.
courtesy of Dave Tedder, very cool band that I was introduced to by Dave. Dave sent me the record and said, "Hey, fool, listen to this." I didn't know what to expect. Pleasantly surprised. Very cool record. Um, this is Rebecca and Rev from Baby and the Nobodies. And if I have that wrong, I apologize.
No, you so far so good.
Perfect.
Introduce yourselves more, who you are, what you do, and give them the spiel about what we're doing here.
So I'm Rebecca. I sing for Baby and the Nobodies.
What else do you do?
Everything.
Everything.
I wrangle 4 guys and I do 90% of the booking, and yeah, I do everything. I do everything but write the music.
And I'm Rev. I play guitar. I write most of the music, and I do most of the artwork and the merch and designing everything and making sure everything works.
You find the merch that I say that I want.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. Gotta love that. Like, very cool collection of guitars on the back wall.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I built some of them. So, yeah.
Okay. That's like my dream. I want to learn to build guitars. I have so many ideas in my head for guitars that I would build, and I don't know the first thing about it simply because I suck at building everything.
No,
I attempt to build and repair things, but it normally, I get it done somewhere between starting and the 13 trips to Home Depot by the time I finish.
Hey, home repair always involves at least 3 trips to Home Depot. If you haven't made 3, you're not doing it right.
Right. Well, I must be doing it right. I must be doing a bang up job then, because I don't think I've ever fixed anything in this house that I haven't made at least 3 trips to before I'm done with it.
Yeah, then you're doing it right.
So, that's the old rule. Measure twice, cut once.
Right.
Yeah, I measure about 34 times and still cut 7 times. So
right.
That would be me. That would be me.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how many times I measure, I still have to cut 2 or 3 more times.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the guy I was in one of my first bands with, he builds sets for Hollywood, and he is an absolute genius when it comes to building everything. And I guess he got all the talent, and I got the gift for work. So
that's very cool. Yeah.
Anywho, you guys have a new record.
We do.
We do. We have a new record.
Ready or Not.
It's called Ready or Not.
Very cool. She's got a picture. She's got the record. I only have the MP3, so
there's also a vinyl too.
Oh, I like vinyl. Shiny.
Right.
The old guy in me loves vinyl.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then we're gonna do a little strip tease here. Do. We'll keep it going. Ready?
Oh, that's sick. See, I love technology. Like, growing up, obviously, we didn't have cool stuff like you never saw like the vinyl that was the splatter vinyl or anything like that. Like, every once in a blue moon, you might see a band like Wasp or somebody do something really kind of
like
out of the box.
Like red or clear once in a while, but they were really expensive.
Yeah, but the majority of the
Someone
time
else.
you got a black record. Like
Yep.
it was
Yep.
black. That was it. Maybe you got a cool, little something for the centerpiece of it. Um, but
Yeah.
like the Casablanca label was probably like the coolest ones for labels because they kind of had the whole Casablanca Kiss thing, and
Right.
even the Bee Gees were, they were like the coolest records you could get because of the art. But
Yeah.
Right.
now, like, you see all these great records and all these bands are getting so creative with what they can do, and
Yeah.
um there was a Finnish band. I can't even remember their name. They sent me one about 5 years ago. They did um, I don't know Swedish. I don't the words, but essentially it was ice and fire.
Okay.
And
Nice.
one
Yeah.
of them was orange and one of them is blue.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
it has like these cool, um, I don't want to say engravings, but has like the cool rune stones type of things that are sort of
Right.
done with
Yeah.
the wax in the
Yeah.
record. And I was like, I know y'all spent a ton of money to get them
Yeah.
to like do the
Yeah.
like runes with the
Yeah.
color inside the thing. Um, and I was like, I've never even listened to it because they're so cool looking. I'm like, I don't want to damage these things. So, um, but I love that. I love that. It's kind of punk. I mean, it's that
Yeah.
pink and black type of things.
We also have another variation, which is baby pink with white splatter. So
Nice,
you got the one that did the strip tease, and then you have the innocent one that's white and pink.
nice.
It's actually hot pink and like
Whatever.
That's very cool.
Whatever.
But whatever.
Baby pink and white, whatever. I think it's baby pink.
Yeah.
It's baby pink compared to that.
Yeah, it is.
So this is a really cool record. I really enjoyed listening to this. Like it had that very Joan Jett-ish type of vibe without really being Joan Jett-ish.
Yeah.
Like it had that attitude, but it didn't really sound like her per se.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I I love Joan. Like Joan is
Yeah.
my goddess of everything, man.
Well,
Like
then thank you. Thank you for comparing me to your goddess of everything. I'll take
um
it.
I've seen her more times live than anybody,
That's
like
awesome.
there's just something about her that, it's that indelible spirit of never quitting or giving up and just being completely who she is.
Yeah, yeah, no fucks given.
And
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
yeah,
Don't give a
and
damn.
yeah.
obviously her work with the Gits after what happened with Mia as well
Right.
endeared here even more. For those of you that are not from Seattle, from Seattle,
Yeah.
you can look up Mia Zapata and find out what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Those of you that are punk fans are from Seattle. I don't have to explain.
Right.
Sadly, I wish I didn't have to explain because,
Yeah.
the shit that should never happen in music, sadly,
Right.
happens more than you wish it did. Um,
Yeah. Exactly.
Tell everyone more about the record, kind of where it comes from, spirit wise, and um, sort of the stories behind some of the songs.
Um.
Well, I guess to summarize the record is you've got everything from I love you to fuck you.
Pretty much.
Yeah, there's lots of different elements in there. You've got your sweet, tender little love songs, and then
And then your bombs away. Yeah.
yeah.
And bombs away is like basically
Yeah,
about a trashed relationship that can't go any further. Maybe one person knows more about the end of it than the other person does. Kind of what the song's about. Then you move on to like the next one, which is like just about
Another town, another face.
just about kind of
On to the next one.
being in a band and being on the
been there,
road,
done that.
all that stuff. And then you got songs like Kings and Queens, which is just basically about
Politics.
the political state during COVID. I mean, it was written during COVID. In fact, the whole record was written during COVID when we had nothing else to do. So, you know, um, yeah. So,
Aggressive was written after a bad day at work.
right, right,
Been there, done that.
yeah,
So yeah, there's definitely a little bit of everything on there.
yeah.
Nice.
Every emotion that you can find.
That the best records always have are just kind of written out of either frustration or spite or like most of my favorite records come from a place that are either deeply, deeply personal or they're just sort of fuck you type of records.
Right.
Yeah.
And either way, they're really emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like um obviously Blue October is one of my Justin is like one of my heroes because the guy is just so, you know. And then I've grown really attached recently to Youngblood
Mhm.
because when he came out, I wanted to hate him so bad. There's just something about him, the look and all of that. I just thought he's gonna be so pretentious. And then I started listening to him and I was like, the songs aren't that bad. And then before my divorce, I took my stepdaughter for her first concert to see him. And that little shit came out on stage and for 3+ hours never stopped moving. Crossed the lighting rig, Paul going up and down, back
Yeah.
and
Yep.
stood in the middle of the audience playing. And I was just like, the fuck is my buddy said, man, he's fucking insane. And I
Yeah.
was like, dude, if Elton John and Joe Strummer had a kid, it would be like he's got that bombastic sort of thing like
Right,
Elton John, but he's got that punk attitude like
Yeah.
Strummer.
right.
And
Yeah,
the
totally.
more I hear him and see him, I just think, some people are built to be fucking rock stars.
Yeah.
And
Right,
he is built to be a rock star, man. Like
right.
to me, he's just a modern day David Bowie. And um, that he did that Kiss cover, and it was just kind of like, he just put his own twist on it, but still, it was a completely, you could still tell it was a Kiss song, but
Yeah.
he put his own little twist on it, man, and it was like, fuck, I don't want to like him. You just can't like
I I
him.
fe- I feel the same way. I thought the same thing about him. And then there was a song that we used to play at the store where I work, and I'm like, huh, I wonder who does this? Because I really liked the melody and there were
Yeah.
certain things that I liked. And then I went back to go look at the media player and I was like, no, because it
Yeah.
was him. And I was like, all right.
And that accent he has when he talks, he's got that Cockney accent, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just like, it's like Jesus, he's so cool. Like he young David Bowie, man. Like he
Yeah.
just
Right.
got that swagger and it's just that what's that song? I love you, will you marry me? It sounds so much like the fucking Clash, and it's like you fucker, like but um anyways, Ready or Not comes out June 26th. Do I have no? Oh,
Actually,
I'm looking
it
at the
just
wrong
dropped
album.
it
Go
just
ahead.
dropped on the 31st of May.
Okay.
So
Um,
it's
It's
out.
available for purchase.
Yeah.
Beautiful. June 26th, you're doing the show with the Dolly Rots.
And Go Betty Go and Peg Boy.
Yep.
Ooh,
Ooh.
two bands that I like. Nice.
Which two? Which two out of the three?
Uh, Dolly Rots and Peg Boy.
Nice.
See, I grew up, well, I don't want to say when I grew up listening to them, but when I was in high school, I was listening to Dolly Rots and Go Betty Go. This is going to be our second time opening for Dolly Rots, so I'm stoked. And it's also cool because I'm like, I loved those bands when I was in high school. So it's that little moment of like, oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I say this all the time to this social media thing really
Yeah.
is surreal to me because as the 14-year-old kid, 15-year-old kid, 16-year-old kid who was in foster care, going from house to house to house to house to house. Because I was in 28 foster homes in 3.5 years,
Wow.
mainly because I was a little asshole and just had a vengeance against the world. But nonetheless, um,
But being bounced around so much, of course. Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
the one thing that was constant, even to this day, is I always had the wall full of posters.
Hmm.
You know, Metal Edge and Circus and
Right.
Cream and
Yeah.
Kerrang. Um, laying on my bed at 14 years old, staring at posters of Wasp and Exodus and Lita Ford and Keel and all of these people that I now, through the power of the internet and whatnot, have not only been able to interview, but become friends with
Right.
a lot of them and literally have their information in this phone where I can call them up and talk
Yeah.
anytime. It's completely surreal to me
Yeah.
Yeah.
because you would have never been able to convince 14-year-old me that there would be a time where staring at those posters, wanting to be those people, that I'd literally have them as
Right.
friends. You know, at that age, at best, you could write a letter, maybe hope for an autograph picture or something through the family.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't take this for granted, whether it's somebody like, you know, Zitro from Exodus or whether it's a band like you guys that are amazing, but maybe you haven't like sold out arenas yet or something.
Right.
Um, I love that social media allows me to talk to and learn the stories of people from all over.
Yeah.
And, you know, I love music of all kinds and styles. So I'm always looking for new stuff to fill the
Yeah.
void of.
I love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. I love that, and I'm right there alongside you. It's like Sunday, I think we talked to a radio station in South Africa
Hmm.
Nice.
that loves our music, and it's like, wow, South Africa? Cool. It's like, all right, I've been to the UK to play before and, a little bit in Europe, but this is South Africa,
Dude,
which is really cool.
I got a record last year from a kid, and he said, "Do you accept submissions?" Absolutely.
Love
We're a
that.
thrash metal band from Pakistan.
Nice.
That's two words I never thought I'd hear put together.
Right?
Pakistan thrash metal. And
Yeah.
the
Right.
band is called Tabahai, Tabahi, and it's two guys. They are jeepney drivers for their career, but they play thrash metal in the style of Creator, Death Angel, Slayer, and they are awesome.
That's awesome.
Rad.
Yeah.
They are so good. When I heard that record, thought I was listening to like a Creator record.
Wow.
And
That's
I
cool.
was just blown away because it was like, well, shit, I guess even in Pakistan,
Right.
they're fucking rocking out, man. And I've gotten bands from the Philippines, Japan,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kuwait, I work with a kid from Kazakhstan who's a classical singer. Um,
Nice.
Complete fucking alien, the 7.5 vocal octave range. Um,
Wow.
Wow.
yeah, he
That's
is
insane.
he's an alien. This
Yeah.
kid has lit he's 28, he's sang his entire life,
Yeah.
and his vocal range is it's
Insane.
it's endless.
Yeah.
Like he can hit notes way down here and then go up past Mariah Carey and then just flawlessly come back down without even changing his breath. And it's just the first time I heard him, my buddy said, "You gotta listen to this kid." And I was just like, okay, that can't be real.
Right.
There's no way a human can sing like that.
Yeah.
And, I mean, this is coming from somebody who grew up with Steelheart and Freddie Mercury and
Nitro,
David Bowie and
Jim
Bocelli.
Jim Gillette.
Right. And this kid, he's all of them combined. Like
Yeah.
he's just a complete freak of nature.
That's
And
that's cool.
he has expanded from being a classical. He's gotten into soul and R&B and like New Orleans jazz. And now he's bringing all of these influences into his style. And
Awesome.
it's just like, wow. And he did this massive concert in Kazakhstan, and people from all over the world come. It was like 130,000 people.
Oh,
And that's when I knew that was like the first time I had ever seen him sing live.
yeah.
And it was just like,
Wow. Yeah.
that's not natural, man. Like the training, the time that he
Right.
must have put in to do it
Well, and
is
just the natural raw talent to start with, probably too.
maybe. I don't know. I don't think there's any kind of raw talent in the world that lets you sing like he sings, but um,
Well,
it,
yeah, but I mean, he
yeah,
had to start somewhere.
yeah. I mean,
He
it's just
probably,
ungodly. I've never heard anyone like him. I
yeah.
mean, like I said, it's very crazy to me too. Um, where do everyone find? I know you have a band camp, but you also have a website. Tell them where the website is, but also
Babyandthenobodies.com.
okay. That's
Babyandthenobodies.com.
easy to remember.
Yes. Super
Uh,
easy to remember.
you must have heard about my bass playing course because I come from the bass playing school of keep it simple, stupid. Uh, I, I always tell people like, that people say, well, how do you play bass? You ever heard Unskinny Bop by Poison? Yeah. Three notes or less, man. Keep it to three notes or less. Like, you know.
Perfect.
Um,
Follow that kick drum.
yeah, it's like I always call it I always call it the dummy method, dum 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 dum.
Oh my God, I love
That's
that.
perfect.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
I love
um
that.
I tell people I'm mediocre at best, and that's being very, very generous. Um, I've tried to learn, but my brain just does not
Yeah.
it doesn't do theory well.
Got it.
So
Got it.
I try to be creative, but I just end up looking like an idiot. So it's back to the, you know, hey, there's this big string, and you can do a lot with this big string if you move your fingers all over the place, So
Right.
a lot of E note,
Well, that's how I started to learn when I first learned to play bass. I only played on the E string, so.
the wild thing is the first person, I won't say the first person, one of the first people who really made me want to play bass was Kip Winger. Just because at that time I hadn't taken up bass yet, and Winger came out, and Beavis and Butthead made endless fun of him. But
Yeah.
you saw the Winger videos. Kip was always like playing bass, but he was always doing this. So I was like, hey, you can play bass with one hand. And Kip was a shitty bass player. And then
Oh,
I saw Extreme Winger and Lynch Mob together, and I realized Kip's actually an incredibly fucking talented musician.
yeah, he is.
And I was like, oh, guess that theory went completely out the window.
Yeah. He was with Alice Cooper for a while before Winger, so
Um, and that was a crazy show because as good as Lynch Mob was, and as good as Winger is, Extreme is
yeah,
disgustingly good.
they are. Yeah.
Not just, I know people talk about Nuno, but Pat also
All of
is
them. Yeah.
a disgustingly good
Yeah.
bass player and singer.
Yeah.
Like Extreme has three really great vocalists.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, and I hate to say it, I almost like Pat and Nuno singing better than Gary's.
Well.
You know, but, um, so just out of curiosity, because for lack of anything better,
Uh-oh.
who are some of the bands that influence you guys to want to subject yourself to the torture and brutality that is being a musician? Because let's face it, only the truly strong do this for a living because, you know,
Well,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I
people
can
who think it's
say
fun and games
I
have
can
never.
say honestly, the very first rock band that I ever just was in awe of was Def Leppard, Pyromania. I heard that when I was like in third grade, and my cousin brought it over, and I've been a musician pretty much ever since, I think.
Nice.
So,
And you?
For me, it wasn't necessarily bands, it was individual singers.
Right.
So for me, it was artists like Madonna, Tina Turner,
Oh yeah.
Selena. Yeah.
Patti LaBelle. First time I heard Patti LaBelle sing, I was just like, I've had a small obsession with Patty my whole life, and I got to meet her one time, and I didn't even know what to say because it happened like without me realizing it was going to happen. And I just
right.
Yeah.
kind of stood there not believing that I was actually standing at Patty LaBelle,
Yeah.
Yeah,
because people talk about Aretha and people talk about all these people, and they don't talk about Patty. And if you've ever seen Patty LaBelle sing live, she is a force of nature.
right.
It's
Well, yeah,
phenomenal.
I feel like she's one artist that's very underrated, and just like Shaka Khan. Like a
Oh my
lot of
God,
people
Shock is
don't talk
another
about
one.
Shaka Khan, but like she can sing. Like, yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah.
So
She's
there is
another
a
one of
tour.
the. Hmm?
I said there's a tour out right now, and it is Patti LaBelle, Shaka Khan, Gladys Knight, and Stephanie Mills all touring together.
Wow.
Yep.
And
Wow.
I
Yep.
am going to it if I have to walk to Detroit because, you
Yeah,
know,
my buddy from high school is playing bass for Gloria. So yeah.
oh, nice. My buddy asked me, why do you want to go to that show? And I was like, why would you not want to
Why
go to that?
would yeah.
Exactly.
Do you realize Shaka Khan and Patti LaBelle are going to be in the same building together? Like,
Right.
look, I know you're a metalhead. You don't know music the way I know music, but let's just say you're probably never going to get Shaka Khan and Patti LaBelle in the same building again, okay?
Right.
Right.
Gladys Knight and Stephanie Mill as a bonus, like,
Yep,
so
exactly.
um let's just say some singing's going to be going on that night. So
Yes.
Yeah.
um,
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah, I think for me, the first band that really made me want to do this was Slade. Um, my
Uh,
uncle's a record collector, and he had one of the Slade records.
yeah.
And first time I heard it, I was just hooked. The harmonies and the guitars and
Right.
the way Noddy sort of, even before I knew Queen or ELO or any of the other bands,
Right.
the way Noddy moved and sang, there was something so mesmerizing and bombastic about
Right.
um, long before Quiet Riot did come on Field of
Oh
Noise,
yeah.
they did it.
Right.
Mama Mama, we're all crazy
Yep.
now, and Goodbye to Jane, and
Bob Jane. Yep.
hearing those songs was just like, holy
Yeah.
shit, why do we not have American bands like this? Because the
Right.
UK had Sweet and they had Slade and they had,
Mott the Hoople.
yeah,
They
they had
had
all of these
all of those.
bands,
Right.
and then we had like Ted Nugent.
Right.
Like, right. Like, we had
Right.
like Ted Nugent, and it was kind of like, okay,
Mm.
Nugent's cool, but
Yeah.
not sweeter. He's not sweeter Slade.
Right.
Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
and even further, they had Led Zeppelin and Bad Company and just so many fucking great bands. And
Yeah.
we kind of had like Boston. Boston was like the lone American band that I was
Right.
really obsessed with as a kid. Um, I think everybody was. I don't know anyone who's not like worn out at least two or three copies of the
Right.
Boston record. Well, um, last question I have for you, and I ask this to everybody. Put together your dream concert. Like if you could pick any two or three artists to do like a dream show with, current, past, whatever. Like who's a few bands that you would just love to
Wow.
Love to play with or love to spectate?
perform with? Either open a
Mine.
show for, or to tour with, or to even record with.
Oh, my lineup would make no sense, but
Yeah, I mean, I would have to go back to Def Leppard. I would love to sit down in a room with those guys.
Yes.
And then as far as like writing with or recording with, I would absolutely love to sit down with Mike Ness.
mm.
I think I think we could make some cool shit happen.
I want to hear your answer because I very much, when you said that, I was like, yes, absolutely. Mine is going to make no sense.
So 8-year-old me would love to open for the Spice Girls with all five of them on stage.
Nice.
Hey, I'd be down for that too.
8-year-old me. I'm
Right.
specifying 8-year-old me.
Oh, I'd be
Oh,
down for it right now.
yeah.
Put them all back together and do a reunion. I'll open for them.
So growing up, I always wanted to be Ginger Spice.
Okay.
Like I used to love Hot Topic when I was a kid because they carried vinyl clothing. So as an 8-year-old, I saw vinyl. I instantly thought Spice Girls. I didn't know anything about fetish or industrial or anything. Vinyl was Spice Girls.
So I
Period.
think when you were 8, I was probably 20 something.
Yeah. Yeah. But like platform boots, like all of that stuff to me, that was Spice Girls. But on a serious note though, like I would love to open for Blondie. I would
That would
love to
be
open for
amazing.
Blondie. I would love to record something with Stevie Nicks.
That would be amazing.
And as weird as it sounds, I would love to have Marilyn Manson produce an album for me. If I ever did like a solo album.
Nice.
I'd love to do something weird and dark and you know.
Oh, he'd put you in a weird and dark place.
Oh,
That's
I
for
know
damn
you
sure.
would.
The reason I laughed when you said that, because for me, there are three people that I'm very, very influenced by. Um, they make no sense together whatsoever, but they've each influenced me in a different way. The first one is Justin from Blue October. Um, the second one is Eddie Spaghetti. I'm a
Yeah,
massive fan of the Super Suckers.
me too.
And the third one is KSR1. Um,
Hmm.
so, when I tell people that, people are kind of like, really? Those three? And I'm like, look, I love KSR1 because the guy, he comes up with such intelligent
Right.
rhymes. I love Eddie because Eddie is fearless about everything and his
Eddie's a great
ability.
guy too.
Yeah, I've never got to meet him or talk to him, but he is near the top of my bucket list for people that I would love to
I've
interview.
actually played a lot of shows with him,
We've actually opened a show with them.
both
Yeah,
as the Super Suckers and Eddie Spaghetti on his own.
Yeah.
yeah.
He was doing some solo stuff for a long time, and
Mhm.
a couple of my bands in the past have played a lot of shows with him. He's a pretty cool dude.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
I love Eddie's fearlessness. I love Eddie's just pure spirit.
Right.
And then Justin, just as a guy who suffers from bipolar and
Right.
all of the things that are involved with it,
Hate
I
Me.
really
Hate Me
yeah.
actually is one of my favorite songs. So
So I was a fan of Blue October, but when Justin got sober and he got clean, and then they did the song Home,
yeah.
I was going through a divorce when that
Mm.
song come out.
Right.
And I spent $30,000 to get sole custody of my son. And that song, I cried
Yeah.
so hard when that song come out. One, because it really just everything about me.
Yeah.
If I do anything else in my life, if I die tomorrow and people say he was a great father, then I have accomplished my mission on earth.
Right.
Right.
But more than that, to see Justin go from there to there
Right.
and be happy and content
Right.
was just such a great moment because watching your heroes die sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, seeing what drugs and alcohol does to people like Chris Holmes, for example. I know Chris is still alive, but, Chris, it has beaten Chris up
Yeah.
badly. Um, and, losing people like, um, I had the honor to hang out with for about a week before he died. I was hung out with Andrew Wood, and
Mhm.
Andrew
Yeah.
was unlike anyone I've ever met in my life. The
Yeah.
kid,
He was definitely one of my heroes being from around
yeah,
here. So yeah.
yeah, the kid. Going back to the term, some people are just made to be rock stars.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
He was going to be bigger than life.
Right.
There was no way to put it any other way.
Yeah.
Um, I one of the few people I've ever cried about dying. Normally, it doesn't affect me much. Freddie did, just because I'm a massive fan of Freddie, and Freddie was so unexpected.
Yeah.
Um, but Andrew's death, still to this day, affects me in a different
Right.
kind of way because, partly because I got to hang out with him.
Right. Yeah.
I was in a band at the time, and we were on the West Coast and doing shows here and there. Um, the whole bidding thing that was going on with them.
Right.
There was a bunch of bands that labels were looking at and whatnot, but the kid was again otherworldly. I mean,
Yeah.
his talent and spirit was just
Absolutely.
in. For those of you that don't know anything about Andrew, if you really want to know what Andrew was about, simply look at the list of who his pallbearers were,
Yep.
and you will know that this kid was, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
his pallbearers literally went on to be gods of Seattle, essentially. I mean, they were like, you know,
Yeah. Exactly.
royalty at the very minimum, I guess you could say. Um, but I mean, to have, Chris Novelichek, Kim Thale, Chris Cornell as your pallbearers is just insane.
Yeah.
That was only three of the six. I think um, the Mark Lanigan, I think, was one of the other ones, and there were a couple others.
Yeah.
But just to have that many incredible friends that
Right.
you were close to at that time before they blew up, before they became famous.
Right.
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 Yeah.
So it is mind-boggling to me because, you know, if you're lucky as a rock star, you get to be friends with one or two really incredible people.
Right.
Um, I mean, he had everybody. So, um,
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I
Um,
guess the last thing I want to ask you guys, um, do you have any advice for bands? Advice for maybe how to start out, maybe how to endure the hardships, um, or
well,
even
we haven't figured out that one yet.
That's not, that's not
I don't think
complete.
anybody has. I like to ask though. Some people seem to think they know the answer to, you know,
Yeah. No, I mean the best advice that I have ever given to anyone is follow your heart, keep trying, and don't give up.
yeah,
That's it. That's all you can do. If you got it in you, that's going to be enough to get you as far as you want to go.
yeah. It's not for everybody. I
No,
can
No.
no,
100%
it's
agree.
not.
No, it's not.
It's a hard road to travel,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not.
Yeah. I
But
learned early on.
don't give up and keep going, and you'll get where you need to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I would just say that you have to have thick skin. Period. You have to.
Especially
Yeah.
being a girl in the rock and roll world.
Oh, don't even get me started on some
Yeah.
of the men that I've encountered. But
Yeah.
anyways,
I yeah. I didn't want to get into that too much because I
yeah.
know some some of the ladies just kind of roll with it, and then some get kind of offended, like, okay, you're only asking that because I'm a female and you only care. And it's not that at all. It's really the complete opposite because I'm going to be honest. I know this is going to sound incredibly bad saying this.
Uh-oh.
I'm really particular when it comes to female singers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the majority of female singers I hear, they just sound alike. There's nothing that sets them apart. So it's very rare when I hear a voice like yours or Lizzie Hale or Doro,
Keep going.
who
Keep going. Keep
I'm just
going.
saying, like, you know, female voices that set themselves apart will
Yeah.
immediately jump out to me because the majority of them just they all sound the same. You
Right.
know,
That
um,
that is one thing that a previous band member told me in the very beginning when he joined. He told me that people were either gonna hate me or love me because I'm a girl. There is no middle ground.
Right.
And especially with male listeners, they're
yeah,
either going to hate it or they're going to love it.
Yep.
So, what you said is very true. It's very black and white.
Yeah.
There is no gray. It's,
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I'm going to be a complete like 100% honest. Like when Dave sent me the record, said, "Listen to this," and I saw the picture and was just kind of like, okay, female singer, let's see.
Uh-huh.
But
Uh-huh.
my expectations were fairly low because again,
Female
nine
singer. Yeah.
times out of 10, female singers just sound
Yeah.
alike to me. They don't put
Yeah.
an effort to really differentiate themselves. A lot of modern female singers kind of are okay with just sort of being in that Hayley Williams type of
Right.
range,
Right.
and they're okay with that. They want to be, you know,
Well, that's
fly,
because that's been commercial for so long that they think they need to do that.
right, in
And they're comfortable just doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I like a little bit of rasp and grit, and I like when Dawn Crosby was with Fear of God, she was somebody I loved so much because again, the ferociousness she had in her voice, just to,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say it was manly, but it was almost manly.
Right.
Yeah.
Zabata was another one. She was fearless, man. Joan,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Lita, they set themselves apart by just being fucking fearless. And I love when women do that. But it doesn't have to be, Anne and Nancy Wilson, for example, have built one of the greatest careers ever being unapologetically themselves.
Right.
Right.
And to this day, cancer performing in a wheelchair still gets out there and
Right.
fucking knows it. Um, I didn't even know she was performing again. And I saw a video a couple days ago of her on stage in a wheelchair singing, gray hair. And I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
Wow, part of me doesn't like seeing her like that.
Right.
The other part of me is saying, fuck
Fuck.
yeah,
Fuck
get
yeah.
out there and get them because
Yeah.
the indelible spirit of saying, even in a wheelchair, even with gray hair, even looking not my best,
Here
I'm
I
gonna get
am.
here and
Yep.
fucking
Here I
kill it.
am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let this defeat me. And I love that. I love her for that. You know, she is an example of what every singer should be, regardless of
Right.
male,
Yeah.
female, or whatever. Um, just to get out there and, like you said, get it done and just do it. And
Yeah.
um, so
Well,
Guys, think,
as dumb as it sounds, that makes me happy that you were pleasantly surprised with the album since you had
yeah.
low expectations going into it. Thank you.
I mean,
Yeah.
it, I really don't mean to sound rude saying that.
Well,
It's
no,
just
but it's
It,
real.
it makes sense though. I mean, I get
as
it.
somebody who hears, I hear like 30 or 40 records a week.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so it does kind of a lot of it blends together, even with the stuff that I love, the thrash stuff and the punk stuff. It can kind of blend together when it doesn't really
Stand up.
stand out,
Yeah.
and this stands out. Like it's got attitude and it's got fire, and even on the songs towards the end, like oh, what is it? Back to
After
start,
start.
Start. Yeah.
which is a little bit of a slower song. It still stands out. It's still a great song and it has spirit to it, that um it's why I love like the Dolly Rots is, she's another one who just so much
Yeah.
fire in her
Yeah.
style, and like
Yeah.
and she does it with a sense of humor. That's the other thing that's great about her. And I can never remember her name, and I know I should know her name. I know it's her and her husband, and they're so phenomenal. Just put out record after record every year, and they do the Christmas songs they do and the Halloween songs they do, and they're always so fun. You know,
Yeah.
they have that Ramones spirit of
Right.
just
Yeah.
having fun, like we're not going to take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so thank you guys for coming on here and
Thank
doing
you
this,
for having us.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us. Definitely.
listening to me ramble.
Yeah.
Make no
So,
sense
so I have
probably.
a question for you since you had
Yeah.
questions for us. So, what was your favorite song off the album?
Um, I'm going to be honest. For this one, I think it was Nothing from Me, if I remember the song.
Mhm.
But my favorite one is I'm gonna have to go to my phone for this because um it was one of the it was one of the earlier records. I was listening to it in the car.
Oh.
Oh.
Um
Uh-oh.
and it was hold on. Let me look it up on here. Um
You weren't
it was
expecting that question, were you?
no, it was
Mm.
the and again this is gonna it's not that one, it's this one. It's off Long Way Home and I think it's Spinning My Wheels.
Oh.
Oh.
Um
Okay.
because I was listening to it and um oh now it's not gonna no. I'm listening to it and as you're singing the chorus or in as you're singing the hook going into the chorus,
Hmm.
I'm like, I know that tune. Like I know that melody. And I'm singing it in my head and I was like, what is that similar to? And I'm like, "Da, da, 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 da." And it was like, these boots are made for walking. And and it was like it's got that similar hook to
Yeah.
it sounds
Gotcha.
like it sounds like you took these boots are made for walking and
That's
turned
a.
it into a song about running someone one over with a car.
While wearing boots.
Right.
While wearing
So
boots.
it was like but it took me about 6 times of listening to it on repeat because I was driving to work to get my son from work, my
Yeah.
older son, and I kept repeating it like
Out there.
I know that. It's reminding me of something and I can't place it. And I'm singing it in my head. And after about the 6th time, it was like, da, 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 da. Ah, that's what it was. So,
I get it.
I might actually do that at rehearsal on Friday just to see.
Let's just see what happens. Yeah. Why not? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's that one. I'm almost
Yeah.
positive it's that one. Um,
Yeah.
because I was listening to the other ones because I didn't realize you guys had like four or three or four CDs out or
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
CDs and an EP or something along that line.
Right.
Um, I was listening on a Bandcamp because um the other ones only have like a bunch of your singles. So
Yeah.
um So this is Baby and the Nobodies. You can find them on Bandcamp. You can find them at the website, as I stated, babyandthenobodies.com.
Yeah.
Yes, she's got the very cool looking thing there. They have very cool vinyl. I'm gonna have to get one of those vinyls because it can go on the rack right over here, the other CDs and whatnot. And
Do you want the dirty version or the innocent one?
oh, I got a dirty one. I don't want anything censored. You're talking to a guy who grew up in the era of George Carlin, Andrew Dice Clay, and Sam Kinison. So
Yes.
Right.
we don't do censored anything.
Right.
I love Dice. Her face, her ass. What's the difference?
He has a TikTok, and his
Does he?
TikTok. Yes, he has a TikTok.
I need to
And
get
his
on that.
TikToks are not comedy so much as they're just little skits in his life. And he has like Brad Garrett and John Lovitz and all of these people that he's friends with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're basically little things about him being late to meetings or being late to whatever. Uh, Lovitz especially roasts him constantly because they'll have lunch and Dice will show up like 30 minutes late. And Lovitz will be like, dude, you're 30 minutes late. And Dice is like, yeah, and what's the problem? He's like, the traffic was bad. What do you want? And he has, I don't know if it's his wife or his manager. He has a lady too that is with him constantly, and he's constantly just being Dice. And then
Yeah.
they're basically like, their role is basically to tell Dice, stop being an asshole. So
I just followed him on Tickety Talk. So
yeah, they're hilarious. Like, the newest one is Brad Garrett. Apparently, they had a business meeting about some movie, and Dice showed up like 3 hours late to the meeting.
Ooh,
So Brad Garrett is like,
dude.
they've been waiting for 3 hours, and Dice is like, yeah, and and Brad's like, you can't do that. It's Hollywood, and he's like, I'm Dice. I do what I want, And
Yeah.
Brad's like, no, you're not Dice. You're just an asshole who likes keeping people waiting because you like having the power and holding it over their heads. And Dice is like, and
Yeah.
he's got glasses on, he's got the hat on, and he's like, so he hasn't changed a bit, I don't think. I don't think he's mellowed much, but yeah. Anyways, as always, we're gonna wrap this up.
All right.
You know how we end it. Be well, treat each other with kindness, and remember, no matter what you're going through, music heals.